Hey, thanks for joining and watching this episode on Georgetown, a cruiser's paradise. Some consider a cruiser's paradise for certain, others maybe not so much. So this is a compilation of a lot of different videos from the last 2 years. We didn't make it down to Georgetown the first year, but we made it down last year for a considerable amount of time, partially due to weather and also because it was an easy place to pick up our guests. And then we also went down this year and we stayed through the regatta but left shortly thereafter. So before I get into all this, if you happen to like this video and want to support this channel, please hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go, and I would really appreciate it. What to say about Georgetown? So it is a very popular cruising destination. At the height of the cruising regatta, you can see in upwards of 400 plus boats in Elizabeth Harbor. It gets really crowded. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of things to do. The people that run the cruising regatta do an exceptional job. They have a lot of different activities for both young and old. They really cater to young families. They have lots of activities for young children. They have twice, 3 times weekly Texas Hold'em games. They have daily volleyball. They have competitive volleyball. There's so much to do. Georgetown is not for everybody. It's really busy. And so if you're potentially, if you're the type of cruiser just wants to get out and be the only one on, drop a hook in a secluded bay and be the only person around for miles for a long period of time, Georgetown is probably not the place for you. But I would still suggest, though, you give it a try. You got to at least experience it once, I think. Well, it's not always sunny cruising around in the Caribbean and the Bahamas.
Georgetown provides excellent protection from winter storms, so much so that if you're lucky enough to make it this far south, you often find yourself returning to Georgetown to seek refuge from a storm. The great protection Elizabeth Harbor provides is because it sits between Great Exuma to the west and Stocking Island to the east. There are also a number of so-called hurricane holes and other land protrusions to get shelter from the winds and waves. The harbor is very large, with many anchorage locations. It is very common for boats moving from one anchorage to another based on the prevailing winds. It's important that you pay attention to the deep water channel and stay clear, even if you swing around with the wind. It's not marked by buoys. You should consult multiple charts and ensure that you are anchored outside the channel. Furthermore, due to how far south Georgetown is, the strength of winter storms are often far less stronger than further north in the Bahamas.
Get fuel first. It's a Shell dinghy dock, and it's best to come in high tide because then it's not quite as big of a step to get down to this floating dock, but it's not too bad. It's a good workout.
There are 2 grocery stores within walking distance to the dinghy dock. The closest, Exuma Markets, also provides free drinking water to the cruisers at the dinghy dock. If you need another case of Clicks, there are also 2 liquor stores nearby. Garbage can be dropped in a pickup truck near the dinghy dock for a nominal fee of $4 for a typical bag and $5 for a large bag. Simply put the money inside the cracked window of the truck. Top to bottom, a hardware store in town may just have what you need. And, while I haven't been there, I've been told that Brown's Marina has a well-stocked marine hardware store. You'll often find residents selling produce on the streets such as tomatoes or cabbage. You can also on occasion find eggs and other produce at the farmers market on Saturdays. Forbes Enterprise, a few doors down from the dinghy dock, can have your propane tanks filled often by the end of the day. If you're looking for a nice steak, we've heard that there's an excellent butcher a short taxi ride away called Prime Meats.
Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm ready.
I just said drums.
A variety show, Georgetown Exuma.
Georgetown Cruisers Regatta. I got to tell you something. I might be chairperson, but I am not the person that does all the work. Despite what Mark said, the work is really done by a committee.
So cover me up, know you're enough to use me for. And now we have Mike on Wild One. How's it going, everybody? Nothing left, she hit the end, it's just a window ledge. Hey, 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 come on, drive. You guys want to hear one more song? It's fast. My sister got lucky, married a yuppie.
Major private-public partnerships to improve the overall product of the island. So thanks again to all of you for coming year after year.
One of our main sources of income, and as a matter of fact, tourists pays all of our salaries here who are employees of the Bahamas government. I must say thank you very much for tourism.
Let's say Tuesday, and it's almost 4 o'clock, and we're gonna head on over to the Snappy Turtle, I think it's called.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. St. Francis
Yeah.
St. Francis and Snappy Turtle.
St. Francis Snappy Turtle. So they have the cruisers organized a what are we calling it? Texas Hold'em game. Tournament. It's a couple hours, and then you also have dinner beforehand, and it's $10 buy-in, and it's a lot of fun. Well, we haven't been in the Snappy Turtle for poker, but we've been there for other reasons. So anyway, this is one of many things that the cruisers and the community around Georgetown set up.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the Harbour. I mean, Sandella Beach. No, not the I got the three. That's right.
The following is just a sample of the few of our favorite beaches, sites, and things to do in close proximity to Georgetown.
This sand was definitely about 10 feet lower before the storm, because that hill right there was quite a bit steeper than it is right now.
Although not shown here, a must-do for anybody who visits Georgetown is a hike up to Monument on Stocking Island. The view is amazing. Complete your hike down the other side and visit the beach on the Atlantic side of Stocking Island. It also never disappoints. Fowl Key, just a short 20 to 30 minute dinghy ride away, has a very nice beach, picnic table, and shelter. There are also some mooring balls for a few snorkeling sites just around the bend of Fowl Key, which are worth checking out. One of our very favorite activities to visit is the so-called Lazy River, which is located at a cut between Harbour Key and Harry Key. A visit to the Lazy River requires some planning. It is about 9 nautical miles from Kidd Cove down to the Lazy River, and so you'll want to make sure you have a full tank of gas and know the approximate burn rate of your dinghy. Our Highfield UL 340 and Honda 15 horsepower, for example, with 2 passengers, burned around 2.5 gallons down and back. Our Highfield CL 340 with Tohatsu 25 horsepower burned about the same, with 4 passengers. Due to the distance, you want to make sure your dinghy can plane. You'll want to be cognizant of the tides and time of day. We prefer to get down there so that we're there on a flood, so that the current is coming into the cut. This allows you to visit the very picturesque sound bar along the way, which is visible at low tide. There are a couple ways of getting there, but you'll want to have a GPS track to minimize groundings and to avoid getting lost. The outside route can be much quicker, but is also likely to be more rough because it is exposed.
Not too far? It's a delicate balance of inches? Yes.
We prefer the inside route, but during our last trip, we must have been there much more closer to low tide than prior because we had to walk our dinghy many times. Everything about the lazy river is fun and adventurous. If you're lucky, you'll find a day of the week and time, which also means there is less visitors and tour boats. And if you're in luck, you might just have the entire beach and lazy river to yourself. There are many restaurants and bars in and around Georgetown, and they range from the quintessential beach bar like Chat and Chill to the more upscale dining like 23 North and Blue. The Island Boy Cafe and Bar is right off the dinghy dock and is a great place to grab a click as you're waiting for a taxi to pick up your guests. Across the street is the Exuma Yacht Club, which has a great view, food, and drinks. Eddie's on Edgewater is a great establishment frequented by locals, which often has live music. We visited to grab dinner and watch a local rake and scrape band. Sherry's, as you walk towards Town Square, has great frozen drinks. Of course, you can't go to Georgetown without visiting the Chat and Chill. The Chat and Chill has been great to the cruising community as they allowed the Regatta organizers to use their beach, benches, and tables for many of their activities. Splash is a short walk from Georgetown or a dinghy ride across Elizabeth Harbour from Monument. The restaurant and bar is a great eatery with a variety of foods from pizza to burgers to traditional Bahamian fare. You'll need to be careful on a dinghy approaching Splash because it can be very shallow, and there's also some sunken obstacles that can foul your prop. Also, if you come with a strong east wind and some swells, throw an anchor so that the bow of your dinghy is facing away from the beach.
Alright, we're here anchored in Honeymoon Bay, I guess, Honeymoon Cove, and this is just north of Monument, Anchorage, and Chat and Chill is over here, essentially, and when we came in here, that sloop was here, that sloop was here, and that sloop over there was here, but Charming Nancy was not here. They came in last night, and Dalliance came in today. Oh, this is actually what I wanted to say. We're in Georgetown, and there's a lot of people here for sure. And I think when we came in before the blow, there was about 330 boats here. There's definitely some that's left after the regatta. But it can get quite territorial around here with the anchoring and that sort of thing. And though we have definitely gotten a lot more comfortable with the closeness of other boats, we do our best to stay as far away from other boats as possible. But it always seems like no matter what, if there's an open spot, somebody's going to try to take it. And I think Charming Nancy is one of those cases, and as well as the boat that came in today. I think we're okay. I think it's fine. There's no wind right now, so I'm not that worried about it. But if there's any significant amount of wind expected, I might be a little worried about it. But we are going to shift around, and the wind's going to come out of the south east, and so we are going to be kind of pointed, rotating another 90 degrees, and so I'm afraid I might be on top of Charming Nancy's anchor at some point. Anyway, this is perhaps one of the bad things about Georgetown. You know, the good part is there's a lot of people and a lot of community and there's a lot of great people, but the bad part is I think the anchorages can get a little testy from time to time. Especially, you know, we heard there was a boat that asked the O'Kellys to move the other day, which was actually really kind of funny. So although the anchorages at Georgetown could get quite crowded, I would have to say that the majority of cruisers are actually quite conscientious about their distances from other people. Shereen and I are relatively new to this cruising and anchoring lifestyle, and I have to say that over time we have gotten much more comfortable in judging our proximity to other boats. Most of the time, the anxiety we feel is really all on us, because when we actually get out there and actually get our rangefinder out or get out on our dinghy and look from a distance of actually how far another boat is, it's actually quite far. There has been a few occasions where it's been a little too tight and ultimately a boat ended up moving, but I would have to say that mostly it's a rare occurrence. The second not so good thing about Georgetown and the anchorages are tour boats, jet skis, and water skis. Although not all the time, a lot of these tour boats and water taxis actually motor a little bit too fast through the anchorages and mooring fields. So much so that people have had damages to their dinghies. We've not had the problem, but generally what ends up happening is a tour boat will go by and stir up a big couple of waves and that sort of thing, and it'll hit us on their beam and it'll rock us quite a bit. It's not an issue early morning, it's not an issue at night, generally speaking, but it does get a little annoying, and I actually think that sometimes the boats get a little bit too close to our boat as well. I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they don't split the distance between the boats. I don't know why they don't go further out into the harbor. I don't know. They're just not cognizant of it, and it gets a little tiring sometimes. This next topic is somewhat controversial. I don't know where most of you boaters sit on this topic, but Georgetown has a policy of no dumping of black water into the harbor. But if you're in Elizabeth Harbor for any period of time, you'll see that a lot of boats do not move from their anchorage or from their mooring wall. Now, I know that most of those boats do not have large enough holding tanks for that period of time. So I'm quite confident that a lot of boats are emptying their holding tanks late at night. Now, I know some people think that, well, you know, there's a large flow of water through Elizabeth Harbor and it's really an insignificant amount of pollution. But, you know, people swim in this water, you know, and, you know, Shereen and I, we have always made it a point to go offshore and go 3 miles out to empty our holding tanks. You know, we use it as an excuse to get a sail in or charge our batteries up with our engines or whatever the case may be, but not everybody subscribes to that. Now, it's a little bit frustrating. Well, not frustrating. It's somewhat understandable that the Bahamians are not able to come up with a better solution to this. They just do not have the money to support a pump out facility or a mobile pump out boat, that sort of thing. So I have an idea. The Bahamians, if you're listening, I would suggest that you consider charging a small tax to boaters that come into the harbor and put that money in a small trust fund that would support the purchasing of a mobile pump out boat. So I hope the Bahamians think of a solution to this problem, because I really am somewhat frustrated with my fellow boaters over this. I myself would be happy to pay a reasonable sum of money to have my holding tanks pumped out while at anchor or on a mooring ball. You know, it's about 2 hours out and back, from one of the anchorages in Elizabeth Harbor. And, you know, when you consider how much fuel that is if you're motoring, easily save $10, $15, $20 to pump out my holding tanks. I'd be happy to pay it. Thank you for watching this episode of Georgetown, a Cruiser's Paradise. I hope you found at least a few tidbits of information that would be beneficial to you. I want to thank our subscribers that have been with us from the beginning. I really appreciate your support. And for all you subscribers that have recently just signed up, I want to thank you so much. If you happen to like this video and you want to support this channel, please hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go, and Shireen and I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you out on the water.